And a good morning to you. Lanny 44 Remembered along with you here on the bottom line. I got, I think it's maybe upper 40s, mid 40s this morning.
43.
43 degrees. Nice. Got some wet weather coming, though, just in case you didn't know it. It's going to be ugly. That's all I can say. They're talking about an inch or two of rain. Going to come in early tomorrow night, but should be out of here by late morning on Saturday, which is good. Won't mess up the whole weekend, but more rain coming. Of course, it'll help my yard a little bit. I haven't done anything to my yard. I have paid to have my yard taken care of and done. I do mow and trim, but I had it core aerated last fall, overseeded, fertilized, and I've already had fertilized and pre-emergent put in. And then I'm going to wait, and when everything comes out, get all the weeds up, I think we're going to do some post-emergent, spray a few things, just see if we can get rid of everything. I like, if I'm going to have to mow grass, I want it to at least look good.
100%.
Milton saying, good morning, Richie. Good morning. Now, in case anybody's wondering, and you want to argue the fact with me, March Madness is getting ready to start today at noon. And everybody said, no, it's not. It started Tuesday with the first round. The first round, you can call it what you want to. This will always be the first round to me. That's the play-in games as far as I'm concerned.
That's what they are.
They are. But it gets started today. Of course, there's action down in Charlotte. And
Lanny, how can you have, like, I don't understand, like, the play-in. Like, you have two number 10s, but yet a 15 doesn't have a play-in. And then you may have two number 16s, right? Why the 10s?
You know, I heard somebody explain that yesterday.
Don't know the part about that.
I'm going to look that up because – and I just caught part of it. What are the NCAA play-in games? Yeah. And there is a method to the madness, and – they talk about that, and I was going to see if I could find it.
I just don't. You know, the thing I don't understand is if somebody's a 10 seed, they're two away from being in the 50%, or just 10-9, right? I don't like. I mean, I'm sure there's a reason for it. I just I'm not clear on why it's that way.
Richie may know that, but there is. I heard him explain it yesterday. Seeding and bracketing, here we go. Maybe I can find that. They explained that, and I really didn't understand it. I want to say two come in as a 16 and two come in as an 11?
10.
As a 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was watching it, and I'm thinking, nah.
And I don't know. I don't understand it. I'm like you. When you look at a bracket, and a 1 plays a 32, a 2 plays a 31, and so on. But then they get dropped in here, and I was trying to think. I don't think has there ever been anywhere that a play-in team has reached the Final Four?
I don't think so.
Richie, that's a question for you. You'll know that.
Yeah.
Or if Lenny will text me too. He will. He'll know if he's listening in. Let's see. Back up. Get a few comments here. Richie said, "I haven't read all the articles, but I have a question about the Otani and his interpreter and who hired those people." We'll get into that too. Have you heard about that?
No.
It's a gambling scandal. Milton says, in answer to your question, 4 is the NCAA. It doesn't have to make sense.
It's good response.
Link, good morning. They want people to go to the games, and
that's about right.
God. Many won't work. Richie, I consider the tournament starting today as well. When you pick the brackets, you don't pick the play-in games, but 3 of those games have been really good. Virginia. Dan Patrick said yesterday, Virginia set the March Madness tournament back 50 years.
Well,
because of their exit.
Okay, so let's two things. Number one, Grambling State and I think Montana State. That was a great game to watch. I really enjoyed watching that. That was good basketball. It was exciting. So the thing with that, so I believe it was the Mountain West got 6 teams and the ACC got 5. Mm-hmm. And there's some ACC. I say fans. People that follow the ACC, our area. They're like, well, how can a Mountain West get 6 and only get 5? And I think it was the Mountain West, but they got it somebody, in a small, I guess a smaller conference or one that's not as prestigious, right? Supposedly, whatever prestigious means. We can get into all that, hierarchy stuff with, the King and Queen of England, stuff like that, and how that's been brought over. And all. But anyway, you look at that and you're like, well, how in the world can the ACC not get more teams in? Well, Virginia gave you the answer why. They gave you the answer. Plain and simple. They forgot how to play basketball. And I think the ACC has killed itself by bringing all these teams in to try to go bigger, to get more market share. Whenever you base your fundamentals and try to base your principles, replace your principles with values of trying to capture market share, be greater, but yet it's at the demise of everything else. This is why the ACC can't get more than 5 teams.
There's two key words
That's why.
that begin with Q that doesn't always work out. When you talk about expansion, talk about more, talk about making more, the easiest thing is to do quantity. Mm-hmm. But you break down the quality.
Right.
You should, if you would expand by quality, if you had, let's just say, for example, in football, let's say you had the 12 best teams in the nation in one conference.
Yeah.
That conference would bring a lot of money. Mm-hmm. You don't have to have 20 teams in it, but it would bring, because the quality of what you're seeing.
Well, that goes against the reverse of everything that's being done, right? It's about more, and then you try to pull the quality from the quantity. And anytime you're trying to build anything, the number one thing you do is focus on a set of standards and which quality is that way. Right, we always talk about success and trying to do things or lack thereof, whatever. Desire. There's 13 core principles to success. Desire is number one, and when it becomes less about desire and more about being first instead of being right, all right, then things are going to crumble. And the ACC is in it absolutely. Like ACC game of the week, Syracuse versus Notre Dame. I'm like, no.
There's not an ACC team in there.
That's not going to get it, okay? And that's where we are. And if you notice, things expand, they contract, right? Natural, whatever. Well, they expanded. Now they're going to majorly contract when Clemson leaves and goes to the Big Ten. Miami's going to go to the Big Ten probably. I mean, Carolina's going to go Big Ten. And I say, I don't know anything. I'm just saying, I'm just giving examples. They're going to leave. And that's it. That's it.
Let me give you this. This is something I did find, okay? When they do what they're calling it, there are 8 teams to compete in the first 4 to advance to the first round. 2 games pair the lowest ranked conference champions. So you take the 2 conference champions, and that's easy to do sometimes if you have a team that comes in and has been terrible all year and somehow winds up and wins the conference, they get the automatic bid. Takes the two lowest ranked conference 2 games pair the lowest ranked conference champions, and 2 games pair the lowest rank at large qualifiers. Now my guess would be those lowest ranked at-large qualifiers are probably going to be the ones that go into the 16.
Yeah.
And then the ones that were at least a conference champion are going to go into 10. The 11. So I didn't hear all that yesterday, but that makes sense to me, the way that it's done.
Well, that's fine. But, again, it's about getting everybody in instead of just taking the 64 best teams. And this is what we got. This is the dilemma. And Laney, the thing about it is you have to decide, all right, in order to make sure things don't get chaotic. Instead of expanding the field, you got to decide, we're going to take the 64 best teams, or we're going to take the conference champions, right, conference tournament champions, and then we're going to seed everybody else.
Teresa, good morning.
I don't know, man. I don't mind, like, other teams getting opportunities and things, but you got to earn it. You can't just be given it.
Yeah.
Right? And that's kind of the way this feels. And, we're getting to the point where things aren't earned, they're just being given. And we're seeing how that's working out.
Let me give you this. Richie said we are correct. No one has made the Final Four from a play-in game. Yeah. So here's the other thing. People like to see the Cinderella stories that start, but when you get down to the Elite Eight, you want to see the 8 best teams. You're not worried about a St. Mary's that's made it because they've been on a run. You want to see the 8 best teams. Now, the other thing I wasn't aware of, and when I read this article, there are 32 conferences. I did not know that.
It says basketball, yeah.
32 teams automatically qualify for the tournament by winning their conference tournament, and 36 teams qualify by receiving an at-large bid based on their performance during the season.
Yeah. It's like this. How there's never a perfect way to do it, right? If you're going to have any at-large, my thing is you take a regular season champion and you take the conference tournament champion if that's the criteria you want to do. And if one is the same, then that just opens up.
That opens up an at-large.
Right. But this is the thing. NC State wins. All right. I think they're probably going to get in. A lot of people say they weren't.
They knocked Pitt out is what most people think.
Yeah. So, but you have these other schools, that come in and it just, it makes it interesting. There's a lot of commercials based off of this. Okay, a lot of people attend, watching all these things. But if you're going to get it right, you got to go with the champions. Okay, you want to go with the tournament champions. You throw it in there, it's fine. Then you got to line them up. No playing games, none of this stuff. You got to line them up and say these are the next best. Again, that's what you get into with football. When people didn't like the way that it had been done because so-and-so got left out. Right. Because it becomes subjective.
Bill Lovegood, good morning to you and happy birthday to you, my friend. Hope you have a great day. Be careful out there. Richie said the ACC expansion and these teams' non-conference schedules hurting the league and getting teams in the tournament. The committee looks at that. The games in December matter as much as the games in February. Pitt and Wake both had horrible non-conference schedules, and where they did not score above 50 points, 6 of them Virginia had 6 20-point blowout losses, and multiple games where they didn't score above 50. You have to have a decent out-of-conference schedule, and it is hurting these teams trying to make it into the tournament. He said Iowa State is the exception to that, but it is the reason the committee did not give them a number one seed.
That's right.
Their non-conference strength of schedule was 334.
Well, yeah, and again, that's metrics, and those they're valid, right? But when you have a conference, you got 20. I'm just giving an example. 20 teams, just saying, and then you play these non-league games like the ACC Big Ten Challenge, right? Well, they're killing each other in those games. And then, basically laying it all out on the line, kind of what was it Richie that just put that? Yeah, Richie's talking about. And then when they get into conference play, they're just beat all they're just killed.
Yeah.
I mean, just killed. I don't know.
And here's the thing. Here's the other thing. And you'll remember this. Most of the folks that are listening will remember this. Do you remember the Big Four tournament you used to have in Charlotte? That was State, Carolina, Duke, and Wake. The Big Fours at Christmas. They quit because it was hurting them, beating each other up because it wasn't part of the conference. This was a non-conference game.
They used to call it the North-South doubleheader when they changed it and made it South Carolina and – so I went to it when I was 12 years old. Jim Valvano signed my Carolina hat that I had, just like a paper hat or whatever. And I just remember it was I want to say it's Citadel and South Carolina. I think it was Citadel and South Carolina versus NC State and North Carolina. And that's when Kenny Smith had broke his hand, broke his wrist. But that was exciting. That was around that time as the old Coliseum. You could go in. I watched Spud Webb. God, they said that dude was 5'7". If he's more than 5'2",
it's more like 5'2", 5'3".
Golly, but I'm gonna tell you something, Lane. When he elevated, he went up for a dunk. And God darn. I was like, holy cow. I mean, he just come out of nowhere, and he's up against this kid, like a kid from Seattle's like 6'6", 6'7", and he went over him with the ball and tried to dunk it, missed the dunk, got fouled, but it was incredible. And I watched him shoot a jump shot from the key. He was that high off the ground.
Yeah.
Shooting a jump shot off, at about 12, 15 hours.
There is some kid that is, I think, is in high school now, that they measured his vertical at 41 inches.
God, that's amazing.
That's amazing. All right, you're playing first four, and I'm glad they call it first four instead of first round. Colorado beat Boise State. They were playing for a 10, 60-53. Grambling beat Montana State, 88-81. They're playing for a 16. Colorado State beat Virginia, 67-42. They were playing for a 10. And Wagner beat Howard, 71-68. Now, one of those teams, and I want to say it's in that Wagner and Howard game, they only had 6 healthy players. That was it. That's all it dressed. 6 or 7 was all it dressed. That's all they had left that was healthy. And
they won.
Yeah, and they won. It may have been called that. It might have been a nickname, Milton. Milton said, wasn't that the Tobacco Road tournament?
Yeah. But, absolutely.
I remember it as the Big Four that they used to call it.
The thing that Dean Smith and Jim Valvano and the other ACC coaches were about, whether it been, what was his name? Was it Bill?
Bill Foster was at Duke.
Bill Foster. And there was one at Clemson too, right? Yeah.
2 different guys.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, of course, whoever the coach was at Wake, and I do not remember that. But they were concerned about a couple of things. Not playing on Friday nights because that was high school basketball night. It was more and again, times change, things, whatever. But there was a focus on the internal aspects for the fan, right? And it was about going out and providing, that interest and, that level of play and the excitement for the local, and I say local, I'm talking about our state. And then, maybe some outlying counties and, that border our state. But, now with the way things are, the loyalty is about players and not teams.
Yeah.
We talked about that the other day. And so which is fine. Things shift dynamically, whatever. That's just the way it is.
Let me take a break, and we'll come back in a minute. And I got a question, and I do not follow college basketball. I'm the first one to tell you. I may watch a little bit of the tournament. May not. But I've got a question. If you're a Carolina fan and you do cover it, I need to know the story about the Baycott kid. About he could have already went pro, but he stayed around, something.
That's right.
I want to know a little bit more about that.
I got you.
Okay?
Yep.
Take a break. Back in a moment.
Whether it's a sit-down meal or a call-in for the drive-thru, Brookwood Cafe and Catering is the answer. A variety of meats, vegetables, and desserts cooked daily, or a hot sandwich from the grill, they have what you're looking for to satisfy your taste buds. If you need catering from 5 to 500, Brookwood has you covered as well. Stop by Brookwood Cafe and Catering at 202 Providence Mill Road in Maiden. Don't forget breakfast daily till 11 a.m. Open Tuesday 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., Wednesday through Saturday 6 a.m. till 8 p.m., and Sunday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Call 828-428-8944 to place your order today.
If you ask around, you'll find Burke Mortuary has a reputation for excellence and commitment to value. They've built a reputation of trust for more than 35 years. Burke Mortuary is proud to offer personal attention, meaningful tributes, and the area's most affordable prices. They're also proud to offer you beautiful, state-of-the-art facilities. It's the perfect place to honor your loved one. So when choosing a funeral home, the choice is easy. Choose Burke Mortuary with locations in Maiden and Newton.
Covenant Church began as a vision of just over 100 people in 1984. Since then, Covenant Church has grown and currently located at 2168 Gastonia Highway in Lincoln. The Sunday schedule includes early morning worship at 8:30, Sunday school at 9:45, and morning worship at 10:45. Their ministries extend beyond Sunday. Visit their website at www.covenantchurch.church to see all they have to offer, and better yet, stop by and see for yourself. Covenant Church may be just what you're looking for a new church home. First Federal Savings Bank has been serving Lincoln County since 1940. And as it has been from the beginning, customer service is a priority to First Federal Savings Bank.
They want to get to know you by name. First Federal Savings Bank has the convenience, the products, and the services that the larger banks have, but with hometown people that you see throughout your community. Stop in and visit one of their 4 convenient locations and see what First Federal Savings Bank has to offer you. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Untangling your headphones, finding the right remote, saying goodbye to your favorite shirt that hasn't fit in 10 years. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with Auto Owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. Auto Owners works with independent agents who live in your community and answer when you call, so you can worry about more important things, like finding a new favorite shirt. That's simple human sense.
Call Mooney Insurance in Maiden or East Lincoln Insurance in Denver or visit mooneyinsurance.com.
Have you thought about when you would like to retire? One of your major assets is planning for retirement is time, and you lose a little of it each day. The longer you wait to start accumulating capital for retirement, the harder it's going to be. How should you plan for retirement? Start by calculating approximately how much capital you will need at retirement, then estimate how much you will have to put away each year. Finally, carefully choose the investments in which you will invest. Stifel Nicholas can assist you. Call 4Rembert today at 828-624-7300. Stifel Nicholas, member SIPC, and the New York Stock Exchange.
And we're back. Limp about over.
Next Thursday night.
Ready to get on your due?
You know, I think I'm not. Hey, look. I think I'm going to stick with this. I can tell a difference. I feel remarkably different.
Hey.
In a good way.
That's the official drink of Robbie Abernathy right there.
Well, now Stephen Lowe.
Oh, okay.
We all go down to the beach.
Robbie's big on that.
No, he is. He is. And he's still big on Mountain Dew, though.
Yeah.
Not Diet Mountain Dew, Mountain Dew.
Yep.
He's got to have one a day.
Thank you, Bob. I'll look at that in just 1 second. Bob's talking about there's a Wikipedia out there.
Oh, that's
Richie
cool.
said Wagner had 7 healthy players. Howard had multiple three-point attempts that hit the front of the rim as time expired to tie the game. I just heard him talk about that when I was driving in this morning. That was a really good game. All right, so tell me about the Baycott kid.
Yeah, so
he's
fifth year kid, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and of course he had the COVID year, so he wasn't hurt or anything like that, right? Like most of them, they gave him an extra year. Which, that's a discussion for another day, all right, and what it was really about, okay? But what he's done is he's taken advantage of the opportunity of NIL, not from a standpoint where he's trying to go out and, promote T-shirts or, a clothing line or whatever, but where he has actually gotten into the restaurant, the hospitality side of things, right, which is what his degree is, and it was a really good – Jay Billis did a thing with him several weeks ago, and I just happened to catch it because I don't watch a lot of basketball, right, till this time of year, okay? And it was fascinating. He was well educated on how the food was prepared. They have like a Baycott burger or whatever, one of these restaurants in Chapel Hill, and that he is learning about the ingredients that go into it, how to make that. It was really good to see that he was putting what he was going to school for to work in trying to build from that. And because of his popularity, obviously people would come in and want to order it.
Is he an NBA prospect?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he Coach K said 2 years ago he's the best defensive player in the league. Now, whether he was this year or not or whatever, but, he is. Now, I don't think he's an all-star by any means because his offensive game, from a shooting standpoint and other things, it would have to drastically improve the range, things like that, which they normally do when they get to the NBA. I mean, obviously, but, he's tough enough. And Coach K was a big fan of Baker. He really liked Armando Baker.
Here's the thing,
and that was cool to see because you don't hear that a lot. The press and the media don't realize how much like coaches like Hubert Davis or the coach at Virginia, how much they love the players in the league. I mean, that's what it's all about, and they're very complimentary, of certain players, and how they play their game and how they go about their business, and that's incredibly important. And unfortunately, it's not controversial, so it's not talked about a lot.
Well, I just heard some talk of it, but I did not know that backstory. But to me, and I've said this, I think, like it or not, I think NIL will help the college game because it'll keep some kids around that
in this case
think they're NBA, they're NBA players, but they may be a flash in the pan.
Well, lottery's lottery, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? To your point, lottery's lottery.
Then you go to Europe, Europe or whatever.
But we're not seeing that in college football. Yeah. They're just declaring to go get the money.
Right.
And I'm not talking about all of them. I'm just giving an example. Instead of looking at the process of development.
But that's what Baycock did. He's preparing for his future.
Right.
He took advantage of something that's new.
Right.
And he's
not a lottery pick.
He's applying it so that it will help him transition from the college and playing world into real world and getting him doing what he wants to do.
Well, in football, too, with the injuries. Like, I'm not blaming the players that are getting out of there or sitting out or whatever. I mean, I don't like that, but I understand to a level – why they're having to protect their investment, which is themselves. I do understand it. I don't like it, but I get it, okay? And I can't say that if I'd grown up, maybe in more, maybe a little bit, tougher setting and had some people that I want to take care of, that I wouldn't do the same thing. I mean, I think it's, a lot of people that maybe hadn't had it as tough, a lot of times are pretty judgmental about, well, they should be playing and they should be doing this, when that may or may not be true, but we're not looking at the whole scope of what's going on. Now, again, I don't like them sitting out, but I understand why, and I'm not into controlling another person's emotions or behavior. Right? You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to worry about
You answer for your own decisions.
Yeah, and I understand that.
Of course, that's a problem we have now, because a lot of them make decisions and then they won't blame somebody else because it didn't work out.
Because it was bad advice.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the hell.
I know.
But that, again, that's the extreme ownership issue that now, is being talked about so much, that no matter what happens, it's your fault. If you will do that, and it doesn't matter if it is somebody else's fault that happens, if you would just say, you know what, it's on me, or if something good happens in your life, thank you, Lord. If something that it did not work out that you wanted to work out, Lord, thank you. Because there's an infinite wisdom and knowledge that's behind all this, okay, that will lead to the greater good down the road. You may not like it now, you may not agree with it, but that there's a lot that goes into these decisions, and a lot more to it than I think that just our everyday first world problems allow us to throw in our comments, right?
Yeah.
So,
all right. So Richie said he Googled the reason for the first four. He said in 2001, the Mountain West Conference began to receive an automatic bid to the tournament. The NCAA did not want to reduce the number of at-large teams in the tournament, which then expanded to field 65
yeah, remember that.
to preserve the 64-team bracket and opening round games. Would be played between the two lowest-seeded automatic qualifying teams. Now it has two games with the lowest automatic bids and two games with the lowest ranked at-large seats.
Now, Lenny, I don't like it, but I'm going to tell you this. I enjoyed watching that Grambling State-Montana State game.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed watching. And I was telling, Shenny was over at the house last night, and he and Mandy and me and G were watching some of the game. G was running up down steps half the night playing his Xbox with his buddies. But when I was talking to him, I said, this is really good basketball. There's nobody out there worried about getting hurt and that they're not going to go to the NBA. Right? Now, there may have been a kid or two that down the road may – again, probably not, but maybe. But there was a lot of passion. There was a lot of heart. It was kind of like watching, an old school junior high basketball game.
Well,
where you had some bruisers out there, you had some. It was good, but it was good. It was really good.
Well, the important thing, and this is where I think we missed the boat on so many things, going back to quality and quantity.
Yeah, well.
You got to give these kids something to play for. It's hard to go out there and play to be the winner of the Smurf Turf Bowl in Idaho and played in snow and 23 degrees. You know, it doesn't.
No,
make sense.
I get that.
It doesn't.
Let me tell you this too, right? So, just personal experience, right? So, got to Maiden, was going to be an assistant baseball coach. About 3 months into it, they made me the head baseball coach, right? So I talked to Coach Brown. I said, hey, and Coach Parker too. I said, hey, I really need a JV team. We've never had one, but, yeah, we'll do that. We want to try to build something here, get some new blood in here, da-da-da. I was like 21 or 22 years old, whatever. So I had 10 kids on my varsity and 10 kids on my JV baseball team. All right. The next year we had 15 varsity players and 15 JV players. You say, why didn't you keep 18? Because I had 20 come out. I wanted to only keep the top. I wanted to build everything with quality first, because quality would bring in higher numbers, because you would start recruiting the right what you were looking for your program, right, to try to build it. So the next year we had 18 and 18. And then the next year after winning the state championship, we had like 62 kids come out. So what I really want to do is have a ninth grade team, but from a developmental standpoint, because we had that many kids coming out. Unfortunately, we weren't able to work that out through, metrics and dynamics and
resources
all these things.
And stuff more than
and in today's world, it would have been a little bit easier to raise money for that, to get them 12 games. And I did that at Irwin High School. I had a freshman team when I was head coach up there in the mountains. I had a JV team and I had a varsity team. So, I had three, and I was only ninth grade team up there. We just played doubleheaders on Saturday. But my point of that is they use that same philosophy going to Irwin, so we could capture and focus on that top quality type player and person first, and then the numbers come from that, right? So to your point,
I'll give you an example. When I was at Highland, we were a JV squad the first year because we had no seniors and had no schedule, and it was hard to get a JV game because they had already played them, so we had to do some others. But I'll give you an example. We went to Country Day in Charlotte on a Saturday and played what was called their B team. They had an A team, B team, and a JV team, but we played their B team, which were the kids that did not play much on a Friday night. They were on the varsity level. So they looked at the same thing. They had no problem because it's about getting experience and getting playing time.
Yes. So you can evaluate your players.
Yeah.
That's so important. You can't, like when you practice during the week, right, you have to give kids reps so you can fairly evaluate. They might not get a lot of reps because you're trying to prep your, ones and twos, but it's so important to be able to assess and appropriately evaluate the development of each player. And when that's not being done, then things get a little crazy, and it's really indefensible when somebody asks, well, why is my kid not playing? Well, they're not. Well, how do you know you're not, giving them any reps? How can you fairly evaluate that? I mean, just because what the hell do you know, right? You know what I'm saying, right? There's nothing measurable. And I think that's what Country Day and, Bob Whitman, was so good at what he did. Ed Walton was the baseball coach down there, but Whitten, Odo, they're just incredible. But Whitman, he was so process oriented and understood the game so well, and understood his players and how to position those players. It's almost like playing chess with him, right? And he, and there's many other great high school coaches around that would do these things, but that is one coach that would properly evaluate and objectively evaluate the players, so he could see whether they were getting better, they were regressing, staying the same, and he could appropriately have a conversation about that, right? So,
all right, let me give you this. Bob sent me a link to the Big Four tournament and a couple things I was wrong on. Okay, it was played from 71 to 81, and all games were played in Greensboro. I thought some of them were played in Sharp. They were all played in Greensboro.
Moved to 82.
71 to 81.
That's right.
Before that, the four participated in something called the Dixie Classic from 1949 to 1960. And do you know who won the most championships in the Big Four? Wake Forest. Nobody would have thought. Wake Forest with 4, State with 3, Carolina with 2, and Duke with 2.
Oh, that's cool.
I did not.
Cool.
I didn't realize that, and I didn't realize it had been gone that long either. The Dixie Classic was played at Reynolds Coliseum on State's campus when it was that. And it said the tournament came to an end after a point-shaving scandal in 1961 involving players from both North Carolina and North Carolina State. So there you go.
Insert Dean Smith at that point.
There you go.
Then he comes into the picture.
Richie said that Grambling State and Montana State was really a good game. Two mid-majors playing conference schools like playing high school level basketball.
Dude, they were getting after it, man. It was awesome to watch. They had this one kid that was kind of like built like Charles Barkley, but probably like 3 inches shorter, right? You know, I mean, Barkley's not tall anyway, but you know. But he was out there, you know, he wasn't near as big as Barkley. I'm just saying kind of that stature or whatever. He's out there trying to bulldoze. And, I mean, it was just good. I mean, they had some athletic kids running up down the floor. They had a big kid from Montana State that, you know, big man that ran the floor really well, had a couple of good transition dunks. And it was just good basketball, you know. It was exciting. And there wasn't any, like, you know, it wasn't any showboating or anything like that. Like what I'm saying is, like, they were playing basketball. I think I only saw one Euro step the whole night. So, you know, I put this post on Facebook. Said, I can't remember who the coach was. He said, call the D game. If it's a walk, call it. If
I saw that. Yeah. Well, they've changed the game.
Was it Rick Barry? Is that
it was?
Yeah.
NBA great Rick Barry.
Oh, God.
During that time frame, with the exception of the very first year with the Big Four, it was Carl Tacey. Was the Wake Forest coach.
Yeah, coach. Yeah, that's right.
Carl Tacey was the Wake Forest coach. Quick time out, be back. And there was another story. A kid, I want to say from Iowa State, has flip-flopped, and there was some speculation that he had gotten his $100,000 NIL, and then he flopped back. But I'll look the details up, and I'll get that to you when we come back.
Whether it's a sit-down meal or a call-in for the drive-thru, Brookwood Cafe and Catering is the answer. A variety of meats, vegetables, and desserts cooked daily, or a hot sandwich from the grill, they have what you're looking for to satisfy your taste buds. If you need catering from 5 to 500, Brookwood has you covered as well. Stop by Brookwood Cafe and Catering at 202 Providence Mill Road in Maiden. Don't forget breakfast daily till 11 a.m. Open Tuesday 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., Wednesday through Saturday 6 a.m. till 8 p.m., and Sunday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Call 828-428-8944 to place your order today.
If you ask around, you'll find Burke Mortuary has a reputation for excellence and commitment to value. They've built a reputation of trust for more than 35 years. Burke Mortuary is proud to offer personal attention, meaningful tributes, and the area's most affordable prices. They're also proud to offer you beautiful, state-of-the-art facilities. It's the perfect place to honor your loved one. So when choosing a funeral home, the choice is easy. Choose Burke Mortuary with locations in Maiden and Newton.
Covenant Church began as a vision of just over 100 people in 1984. Since then, Covenant Church has grown and currently located at 2168 Gastonia Highway in Lincoln. The Sunday schedule includes early morning worship at 8:30, Sunday school at 9:45, and morning worship at 10:45. Their ministries extend beyond Sunday. Visit their website at www.covenantchurch.church to see all they have to offer, and better yet, stop by and see for yourself. Covenant Church may be just what you're looking for a new church home. First Federal Savings Bank has been serving Lincoln County since 1940. And as it has been from the beginning, customer service is a priority to First Federal Savings Bank. They want to get to know you by name. First Federal Savings Bank has the convenience, the products, and the services that the larger banks have, but with hometown people that you see throughout your community. Stop in and visit one of their 4 convenient locations and see what First Federal Savings Bank has to offer you. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Untangling your headphones, finding the right remote, saying goodbye to your favorite shirt that hasn't fit in 10 years. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with auto owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. Auto Owners works with independent agents who live in your community and answer when you call, so you can worry about more important things, like finding a new favorite shirt. That's simple human sense.
Call Mooney Insurance in Maiden or East Lincoln Insurance in Denver or visit mooneyinsurance.com.
Have you thought about when you would like to retire? One of your major assets is planning for retirement is time, and you lose a little of it each day. The longer you wait to start accumulating capital for retirement, the harder it's going to be. How should you plan for retirement? Start by calculating approximately how much capital you will need at retirement, then estimate how much you will have to put away each year. Finally, carefully choose the investments in which you will invest. Stiefel Nicholas can assist you. Call 4 Rembert today at 828-624-7300. Stiefel Nicholas, member SIPC, and the New York Stock Exchange.
And we are back. I think the kid's name is Jalen Watson. And I was listening to Dan Patrick talk about it yesterday, and he was talking about he's from Iowa, had signed to Iowa, and then went in the portal, signed with Alabama. Then after Saban retired, he decided to go back to Iowa, and then has flipped again. And there is the group that handles the NIL money for Iowa is called the Swarm. And there was some trying to figure out if money had passed hands. It was $100,000 was this NIL deal. And according to the person that runs the Swarm, that did not happen because as part of that NIL deal, he had to make appearances at certain places and camps and all this kind of stuff, and he didn't do that. Now, here's the deal, and we talked about this before, and I don't like where it's going. I don't like where it's at with the NIL, but the one thing that I want to see happen, because it makes it get real, is there need to be contracts that you can't get out of. If you're going to be a grown-up and you're going to take money and it's going to be things and this is the way we're going to play, well, when you take that contract and you decide, well, after 3 games I'm not going to play anymore, then they're going to prorate that. You got to give it back and you got to pay for your school. So right now there's no control at all, and I don't know how you get control of it, but something's going to have to be done because there's a lot of money, energy, and time wasted. You know, at least when it was the scholarship thing, you couldn't go till after the year was over.
Yeah, and you may have to sit out a year.
Right.
You know, the other thing too is I totally blame the adults in leadership.
There hadn't been an adult to take this
in our country. Mm-hmm. You know, from day one on anything that's happened. Mm-hmm. You know, kids are only kids, right? Now, what's the definition of a kid? 23 years old, 18, whatever. So, you know, we skewed the lines there. You can be 18 and get drafted and go serve your country, but you can't buy alcohol, and in some states you can't buy tobacco, right? Because you're not ready for that till you're 21. You can stick a machine gun in your hand and kill somebody or be killed, but you can't do that, right? So I'm not condoning either one. I'm just giving an example, right? The other thing, too, is well, we're going to allow you to keep your kid on your insurance until they're 26. Well, first of all, they're not a kid. They're an adult, all right, 18, all right? But, yeah, they're still young and they're still inexperienced. Well, that's called being a young adult, right? So, again, I'm not blaming the kids for this. This is all adults not willing to step up.
Well, adults didn't want to make hard decisions.
Well, that's it. You know, we want all the privileges of an adult with all the protections as a child. And we want that through our 50s and 60s now and the 80s and 90s. You know, we're like, please help me, please save me, please do it. No. It's up to you, okay? It's up to you. You know, if you're led the wrong way, again, whose fault is that? Are you the one that fell into line by, you know, being led the wrong way? You know, well, they deceived me. Well, you know, at some point, like we talked about a minute ago, and there is the line between that, but at some point you gotta figure out, you know, and have full ownership over things, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just getting to the point where it's ridiculous. Everything's about, well, he's a kid and he's doing this and, you know, this, that, or she's doing this. She's 21, but, you know, she's still – I mean, it's absolutely insane.
Yeah.
It's insane, and it's got to stop. That's why you can't mix the two and why chaos ensues. ESPN, $7.8 billion investment into college football that Reese Davis was talking about on the Pat McAfee show yesterday. They're all really, really excited. But let me tell you something. If viewership starts declining because all these people running around everywhere and doing these things, you know, I say people, players, you know, I'm getting money, I'm transferring, I'm leaving here, and people become disinterested, how quick you think that's going to stop with a $7.8 billion
But that's
investment?
where everything is. If it doesn't affect you in the wallet, you can't get people to take responsibility.
Yeah, well,
and that's when it's going to happen.
Even if it does, you deflect it on somebody else, and you say,
Right.
"Well, these were bad decisions that led up to this." You know, the biggest thing that's wrong, you know, right now is that we don't have term limits, you know, in our government. And you say, well, why are you talking about government when it comes to sports and everything? Well, you know, what's interesting to me is we have homeless veterans. Okay, we have people that have served in our military that came back with missing limbs and all these things, and you know, the health care issue with them and things that, you know, taking care of them seems to be a real issue. But Congress has time to talk about steroids in baseball. Congress has time to talk about, you know, basically stuff that really doesn't matter. Okay, you know, I mean, it really doesn't when it comes down to it, right? We're not addressing the matters most important to people, and therefore spilling over into
Right.
our sports. That's why I bring that up about that. We need term limits all across the board. You know, 2 to 3, wherever you are, whatever. You know, a lot of people say just 2 with senators and, you know, House of Representatives, whatever. Come up with something. But we've got to have functioning, you know, government, right? And that way it provides consistency instead of just complete chaos, you know, with, well, this person's been in 38 years. Let's celebrate them. They've done a great job. I mean, it's amazing to me that we went through a financial crisis. Then we start honoring people who actually helped start the crisis by legislation, by introducing new legislation, right, to stop the current financial crisis.
If people have been if people have been in that long and we're still dealing with the same problems we were dealing with 20 years ago, then we didn't get anything accomplished. I know
we are. What's being said different? You can go back and press, you know, rewind and replay. You know, and it's all about emotions and, oh, these people want to help us and they want to do this. Now, let me tell you something. The way, you know, the intent was for the farmer, you know, to go serve a term or two and then come back home. Now, yes, things have changed, all right, you know, as far as the way that we work and, you know, our dynamic economy and things like that. I get all that. But it's the same thing as, why does church start at 11 o'clock on Sunday in a lot of places?
because that's what it's always been.
Yeah, that's what they'll tell you, but which is a terrible reason for anything. That's why we've always done it. Well, it was started because that was the time when you got up. It was the downtime between when you fed your animals and got everything right until the time you got back to take care of things for lunch and then dinner, your supper, whatever, right? But nobody can tell you that. You say, well, this is the way we've always done it. Well, I don't even know what that means. Okay?
That's one of the things I do not like.
That is an unacceptable statement. Well, it's been that way here for a long time. It's not going to change. Well, you know, okay, but you're going to lose, you know, whatever if you don't evolve. And that's my point to all of this. Yes, you have to move and evolve as time goes on with the way the players are dealt with, the things that players are provided. Think about everything. You go into a football program, and basically you walk in from day one, and there's really nothing that you will ever need. There may be some things you won't, but as far as what a need is, till the day you graduate, you're given money for stipend, all your laundry's done, you got free health care of all kinds, all right? You've got food, you've got shelter, you have all these things, but then the wants come into play. And that's why people in general are not going to keep doing this NIL, contributing to it, to get all this money going in. You know, I'm talking about people that, you know, are fans, not talking about massive donors. I'm talking about just fans like, yeah, we'll try to get these players in. They're going to stop doing that because they're going to run out of money.
But the other side of that is, and they're seeing some of this, and this is why it's going to change too, some of the big donors have pulled money into the program to fund the NIL, and they're not going to do both. They can't do it, so it starts happening. Let me mention this before we get out of here. Terry Hoyle said the high school Easter baseball tournament, April 1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
Yep.
Visit the concession stand to help support American Legion Baseball. Is it up at Legion?
Yeah.
It's Fairgrounds?
Yeah, it's at the Fairgrounds. And also they've got Hickory Post 48 has a parent meeting April 14th. And I want to say it's on a Sunday at 6 o'clock. And then they'll have tryouts on the 21st. And Marshall McDonald, the coach at CVCC, is going to be the Legion coach in Hickory. So he's a great guy. He wants to try to get things going, continue doing a good job there. Hickory's had a long line of great teams and a lot of success, really good coaches, for many years. And American Legion kind of took a backslide, when they started letting every town have a team. And, the intent is for your seniors, returning college kids that are 19, don't turn 20 that year, and then maybe some juniors, right? An occasional good sophomore, to play. But what's happening is with every town having a team, it just kind of watered everything down.
Quantity,
well,
not quality.
That's what they were doing, and it's filtered down. Bobby, Coach Chervil and I were talking about this the other, couple of weeks ago. It's got to get. They cut it down from 9 innings to 7 innings. I think that having people like Terry as an AD there and Marshall as a coach, and I like to be involved in it too, right? I talk a lot with these coaches in the area. Still, a lot of good friends. Richard Walker, who does a lot of things, with his site.
Coverage-wise.
Yeah, man, incredible. Really like to get this thing back where they're playing baseball again instead of just playing high school JV baseball, right? And I think that you have a lot of coaches, Laney, that are trying to work in 9-inning games and non-conference games to give the kids that feel. And the idea is less is more, right? Less teams equals more talent, to come in and ups the level of play. And, it got watered down. I mean, that's why I got out of it. They started doing that in 2013, 14. I said, I'm done with this. I'm not doing it.
Wayne Ward, good morning.
So hopefully they'll change that and get things back. Bobby still does a great job. Coach Reynolds at, Chervil, he still does a great job. Shelby's, I just feel like the quality will continue to get better, with the what we call the older guard.
Yeah.
But we also got some new coaches like Marshall McDonald at CVCC coming in and wanting to do a good job with that. As a matter of fact, I'm having lunch with him today. We're going to go over a few things, and this being his first year, I told him, I said, bring a notebook and pen. We got some stuff we got to try to cover and make sure you get off on a good start. But, it's a lot of fun, and the American Legion's some of the best playing days of my life in any sport. We played almost every night. It was really hot. The games were intense. They were competitive. I remember these two guys sitting in Chervil that sat behind the right side batter's box, and you step into the box, boy, if you're a visitor, and they just let you. We called them Heckle and Jekyll. Those guys were great, man. But they, even as a 15, 16, 17-year-old man, I couldn't wait to go there just to try to do something to piss those two off, man. To try to hit a double or home run or whatever. If I'd strike out, boy, they would get all God, it was great. There's a lot of good times, though. A lot of good stuff.
Brian, good morning. Except it's not good morning. You've been out delivering papers since about 3:30 this morning. I'm going to mention this because this is just now starting to evolve. Somebody mentioned it earlier this morning. Shohei Ohtani's translator, has been fired amidst questions regarding the transfer of $4.5 million of Ohtani's funds to an illegal bookmaking operation. Now, this is the writer from NBC Pro Football Talk, and I don't think it's one of the talking heads that I listed. It is. It's Florio. Florio wrote this.
Oh, okay.
Florio said, my own pasta and meatballs gut reaction to the story is that Ohtani himself might have been doing the gambling and the interpreter's taking the fall. He said, that is not a statement of fact. It's my own opinion based on circumstantial evidence, and it merits further investigation by MLB if MLB is so involved.
What do you think's going to happen? I mean, what do you think is going to happen? I mean, what you're mixing two things.
Yeah.
What do you think's going to happen? It's just not going to be, peaches and roses. What do you think's going to happen?
The official story is that the interpreter incurred the debts and that Ohtani's decided to pay them off.
Yeah, sure.
But this, you're just scratching the surface, and this could really be a black eye. I hope it's not. I hope that Ohtani has nothing to do with it, but we'll see.
If they find anything, Pete Rose, next Hall of Fame ballot needs to go straight in, lifetime ban. All that crap needs to go away, okay? It's kind of like NIL money. It's always been going on. Now they make it legal, and all of a sudden it's okay. Not listening to that, okay? Not listening to that, all right? Rose needs to go into the Hall of Fame. He's one of the greatest players that ever played. We got guys that have, been abusive, have done, to physically to people, have done horrible things. Well, they were a great player. So we can dismiss that, but if somebody gambles never against their team, never, or no proof of that with Rose.
Right.
All right. But yet, and was a player and a coach.
Yeah.
I mean, really? Yeah. What are we talking about? What are we are we talking about the integrity and the values of the game of baseball? Are you freaking kidding me? When you have like stuff like this that goes on, Are you kidding me?
Oh, I know.
Come on, man. Don't no.
I don't think we've heard the end of this, especially since my wife says it was on GMA this morning.
Yeah, and it should be.
And Richie's right, and I've said that too. Rose should go in as a player, not as a manager, because he didn't have that kind of career as a manager, but he did as a player. I got to get out of here. I got a 9 o'clock call. Final thought?
Yeah, Rose got to go in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, I agree.
Like right now.
100%.
It's got to stop. It's got to stop.
100%.
Get him in there.
You'll find
Ridiculous.
out. Have a great day. See you next week.